Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Red Couch live here at Hannover Fair 2014. My name is Kilian Müller. I am CEO of Publish Industry Group, an important German publishing company with several trade magazines on leading technologies. ZWEI booth is hosting the Red Couch this year. During the whole Hannover Fair, we talk to important industry leaders about fascinating key topics. Right now, I would like to welcome Mr. J. Timmons.
Morning.
Good morning. President and CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers, NAM. And we will talk about the manufacturing renaissance is yet to come. Jay, good morning on the Red Couch.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Very welcome. Jay, NAM is the largest manufacturing association in the United States, representing small and large manufacturers in every industrial sector. Can you give a brief summary on the mission and the major targets of NAM?
Sure. So the NAM is a 12,000 member organization, and we represent manufacturers from a 3-person candy making shop all the way to Boeing and everything in between. So of our 12,000 members, about 90% of those are SMEs, and they really help us tell the manufacturing story when we're advocating to members of Congress and to agencies of the administration in Washington. The purpose of the NAM is to build support for the right policies to help revitalize the manufacturing economy. We've been in business since 1895 in the United States, and we keep growing. We're growing every year now. So I think part of that is because folks in the United States, whether they're elected at the national level or the state level, are all focused on the fact that manufacturing can help really build an economy and create jobs.
Mm-hmm. Well, innovation, you said it, innovation drives advances in technology, like those we see here in Hanover, here at this fair. Why are government policies that protect and promote intellectual property important for creating an environment of innovation, and how is the United States working to tackle those issues at home and abroad?
Yeah, so intellectual property is really the cornerstone of manufacturing, not just in the United States, but in Europe and elsewhere around the world. We are working very hard right now, as a matter of fact, to ensure that trade agreements that we're negotiating have strong protections for intellectual property. Without the ability to protect trade secrets and intellectual property, manufacturing simply will not advance. You know, the advancements that you see here at the Hannover Messe are made possible because manufacturers have been able to guard their trade secrets and their intellectual property. So as we're working on trade agreements, IP or intellectual property protection is a key foundational principle for the United States, but we're also strengthening at home our own trade secret laws to make sure that we continue to protect that intellectual capability.
We will come back later to the trade agreement as well. But first of all, how can we develop the skilled workforce we need for the broad spectrum of jobs that manufacturing companies need to fill? What is the NAM doing, and what lessons have you learned that can be applied abroad?
Well, I can tell you the lessons we've learned is that this is a very, very tough issue.
Yes.
It's not just tough for the United States, but for Europe as well, and for manufacturers around the world. So we've been discussing this issue for years at the NAM, and right now in the United States, we have a 7.5% unemployment rate, but we still have 600,000 manufacturing jobs that are going unfilled. 82% of manufacturers report to us that they can't find the skilled workforce necessary to fill some of these job openings. So what we found is that it really requires a local solution. Businesses are becoming more and more involved themselves in helping, for instance, community colleges and others align curriculum to be able to help provide the workforce. We have an arm of the NAM called our Manufacturing Institute, and they focus on workforce development issues, and there's 3 key things that they're working on. First and foremost is a program that they call Dream It, Do It, and that's a program that helps inspire young people in high school to be interested in a career in manufacturing in the future. One of the problems that we have in the United States is the perception of manufacturing among young people is that it's the manufacturing of the past, dirty, dark, and dangerous. That is not.
You have the same thing here in Europe as well.
Sure, I think, I'm not sure why that perception exists, but the fact of the matter is, and you can see it everywhere here at the Hannover Messe, manufacturing today is sleek, it's technology driven, it's exciting. Yeah. And so the Dream It, Do It campaign gets young people into a manufacturing facility, gives them a hands-on experience in manufacturing, and hopefully inspires them to want a career. The second thing that our institute is working on is a skills certification program. And that is an effort to work with our community college system in the States nationwide to get them to adopt a curriculum that provides, I call it a passport to entry into manufacturing facilities, providing training in some basic skills that can be certified and then portable so that that person can take the certificate from facility to facility. And then third, which is really an untapped treasure in our country, returning military personnel who have much of the training that is required in manufacturing, but they don't realize that they can actually apply their skills to manufacturing jobs. I talked to one manufacturing worker who had returned from military service, and when somebody approached him about a job in manufacturing, he said, well, what do I know? I just drove a tank. Yeah. And the person who was talking to him said, well, you know logistics, you know electronics, you know hydraulics, you know so many of the basics. So, and not only that, they also have incredibly good work ethic skills. And that's so important for manufacturing as well. So those three things are the ways we're tackling that problem in the United States. But I have to tell you, there are a lot of other solutions that are needed, and we look forward to working with our European counterparts to figure this problem out.
Yeah, isn't it amazing that young people, I mean, they are really excited about smartphones and all that things, right, but they are not excited about how to develop them.
Well, they're not making the connection.
Yes.
Right? And saying, wow, this is something that I could make
I could do that.
I can do this,
yeah, absolutely.
And I think when it finally does click on with a young person, there's no stopping them, and there's going to be a lot of
We have to help them with the link.
That's exactly right.
We have to get the link for that.
That's exactly right.
Well, the United States has always been attractive for companies looking to invest. But in the last few years, there seems to be a new resurgence in investments in the United States in manufacturing. What is making the United States more attractive for companies looking to invest and grow manufacturing? And how is the National Association of Manufacturers working to improve the environment?
So I'm sure that governments in Europe have the same discussions that we have with our government, and that is that we must make it more attractive to manufacture within our borders. We have to make sure that we maintain our ability to compete and succeed in a very, very competitive international and global marketplace. In the United States, we've had a little bit of luck, and the luck is that we've discovered new technologies that allow us to access our own domestic energy resources. So as part of the cost of doing business in the United States, whether that's taxes or regulation or litigation or energy, the energy costs have been going down dramatically, and that has given us a new, I would say, a breath of life that allows us to attract manufacturing back, or attract manufacturing investment into the borders of the United States. That's something that we have to be very vigilant to protect, though, because there are those who would like to impose additional regulations onto energy production. That drives up the cost of energy, and that makes manufacturing less competitive. Our next challenge, to be very honest, is dealing with our taxes. We have the most uncompetitive corporate tax rate in the world. Our regulatory system is quite expensive as well. And while there are many regulations that are incredibly important, it's important that those regulations are smart, that they're targeted, that they're balanced and transparent, and also based on sound science. And we're working to improve that environment in the United States. So we would like to be able to attract even more investment there, as I'm sure Europe would as well.
We do. How can organizations like the NAM, working with policymakers, help pave the way for US companies to find more market opportunities abroad? And on the other hand, how can advanced manufacturing initiatives support that export growth?
Well, we're working right now with our European counterparts to hopefully pave the way for a successful conclusion to the TTIP negotiations.
TTIP, yeah.
That's the transatlantic trade agreement, and I think we have some great opportunities to do that, and it's important. Our two economies together can be, if we do this agreement right, can really be the gold standard for the rest of the world, and we can provide pathways to export opportunities for manufacturers on both sides of the Atlantic, and I think that should be our goal.
And what is your expectation about finalizing of this TTIP? Is there any time that we can take into focus?
If I knew the date that would happen, I would be very much in demand. I don't, but
people, I think, here in Germany really look very enthusiastic on that topic.
They look what?
Very enthusiastic on that topic.
Yeah.
So they look forward to come. That
to a
TTIP
conclusion.
is being to come. Yeah.
Yeah. So we would like that as well. There are some hurdles that we have to get over.
Yeah.
But I think that our two economies have worked so closely together, and we've tackled many challenges in the world. I think we can figure our way forward on this. I mean, we're talking about obviously regulatory harmonization. We're talking about market access. We're talking about intellectual property protections. We're talking about investor-state dispute settlement, and we're talking about cross-border data flows. And I think those 5 issues, if we get this right, again, can be the gold standard for other agreements. You're negotiating with China. We're negotiating with China. There are other economies around the world that don't have the same standards that we have, that same high standards that we have. If we get it right, then there's no stopping our economies in the future, and there's no stopping our ability to grow and succeed.
Yeah. Well, maybe one last question, and then we're almost done. You did talk about the energy situation in the U.S. and that you were lucky with your sort of independence from supplying countries. How, from the U.S. perspective, do you see the situation here in Europe in the moment, especially if we talk about the Russian Crimea crisis that we see in the last weeks?
Yeah, so I think this is another great example of why we need the TTIP agreement. We would like to be able to supply energy to our allies. We have a similar situation in the States right now. We're waiting for approval of a pipeline connecting Canada and the United States. We certainly would rather be getting our energy supply from a trusted ally than from questionable regimes around the world. The same situation exists here, I would imagine. I'm not here, obviously, and don't know it on a personal level, but the ability for the United States to be able to export, for instance, our liquefied natural gas to Europe, I think would be I think it's a geopolitical imperative that we do this right, so that you're not having to rely on energy from sources that may not be as friendly to you as other allies.
Yeah, that's right, and gives us a lot of thinking. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this was the Red Couch VIP talk about the manufacturing renaissance is yet to come, live at Hannover Fair 2014.